This is Jumping In, the short-form series of the Jedburgh Podcast. I'm the creator and host, Fran and Racioppi. Each week I have the opportunity to speak with transformative leaders, visionaries, drivers of change, those dedicated to winning no matter the challenge. Our long-form series has been an opportunity to go deep, unpack all aspects of our guest and their story. For Jumping In, just like our Jedburgh teams of World War II, I want to get on and off the drop zone fast. I want to catch up with previous guests, give my opinion on what's happening in the world, and uncover some of today's most pressing issues. The entire Jedburgh podcast is sponsored by Jersey Mike Subs. Together, we share the mission of giving back and building community together. A percentage of all proceeds is dedicated to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Check out our website for full transcriptions of every episode at jedburghpodcast.com. Follow us on social media at Jedburgh Podcast on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts and watch our full video versions on YouTube. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.
Here we are taking a minute to reset our expectations, not lower our expectations, but shift them to focus on the right things for right now and what we really need to seize opportunity rather than drown in rifts or challenges or concerns.
Thinking about where your mind goes during that 1,000. I think you and I joked that the first 200 to 300 step-ups, you cut up with your friends and your neighbors and you make fun of each other. And after that, you just kind of stop talking. You're more or less in the pain cave.
November is National Veterans and Military Families Month, so this year I thought we'd go big, and since every adventure is way more fun with a buddy, and I generally don't like to do a whole lot by myself, I asked one of my favorite Jedburghs, founder of FitFighter and my guest from episode 51, Sara Apgar, to join me in New York City to cover the New York City Veterans Day Parade live from the back of our brand new 1944 Dodge WC-51. I say it's new, Sarah, but I'm telling you, this thing is leaking oil all over my garage floor.
I cannot wait. Oh man, I have wanted Fran as a battle buddy for a long time. Honored to be here. What Fran did not tell me was that before we jump into the back of that Dodge together, we have a workout of the day, which I, of course, am all about. Since the last time Fran and I worked out together, he didn't make it more than about 5 minutes through one of my FitFighter workouts. Team Veterans Day is about honoring our past and celebrating those who are still serving. Here we are, folks. That is our Jedburgh Podcast FitFighter theme for the Veterans Day series, Here We Are. What is this theme about? It's about two things. It's about showing up and staying together. It's about celebrating our presence and our health because we are nothing without those two things. And I can't wait to celebrate being here today with you and our veterans.
To kick off this series, and here we are, and our coverage of the New York City Veterans Day Parade, Sarah and I asked another one of our most popular Jedburghs, Sara Wilkinson, to join us. This year, we're proud to support Sarah and the Step Up Foundation and Chad 1000X, the hero workout of the day, named in honor of Sarah's husband, Navy SEAL Chad Wilkinson. Sarah shares the pain Chad 1000X brings, but also the opportunity that it presents to be one with yourself, present, and here we are.
She is such a phenomenal woman. We also talk about the importance of Sarah's live big mentality, her drive across the country, and what Veterans Day means to her and her family. Join us live, team, at Madison Square Park on 11/11 in New York City. Bright and early, 6 a.m. with me and Fran for those who want to feel the pain of Chad and celebrate his memory. For everyone else, we will see you at 10 a.m. for the parade. Do not miss us next to the grandstands in that WC-51. I can't wait. It's going to be entertaining. Stay tuned to our socials for updates and more information.
1,000 step-ups, bright and early, 1 foot after another, 24-inch box, weighted, not weighted, whatever you want to do. Join the over 200 local Chad 1000X events across the country this Veterans Day at chad1000x.com and check it out on the Sandlot app. Hear more of our conversations on your favorite podcast platforms and jedburghpodcast.com. Watch our full video versions on YouTube. Follow us on social media at Jedburgh Podcast. Start training with Sara Apgar and FitFighter and the Steel Hose at fitfighter.com and join the action on social media at FitFighter. We'll see you at the parade. Sarah, welcome to the Jedburgh Podcast. I'm super pumped to have you both on because these are two of my absolute favorite Jedburghs over the last 18 months. Episode 51 with Sara Apgar and FitFighter, episode 55 with Sara Wilkinson and Chad 1000X, and now we've brought everybody together here because we're going to talk about Veterans Day, and we're going to talk about Chad 1000X. We're going to talk about partnership between all of our organizations and what that means. But we have made a commitment here over the course of the next couple of weeks to launch what we're calling our Veterans Day series. And we have a theme behind it, and Sarah Apgar is going to talk about that in a second. But we're going to cover the New York City Veterans Day Parade live. I don't know who's seen on social media, but I went out and bought a 1944 Dodge, what's called a WC Weapons Carrier 51, which is now the official vehicle of the podcast. So as you know, and as Sara Wilkinson sat in, we had a Land Rover. We've changed that out for an American-made Dodge, and that's going to be our new vehicle, and we're launching it at Veterans Day this year. So I'm super pumped about that. But to kick all that off, I have to announce that my co-host for these series of episodes is Sara Apgar. And I was thinking about how are we going to put this together? What's it going to look like? And immediately I said, who fits this model that I'm looking for of Army veteran, has gone out and done absolutely tremendous things in building FitFighter, was on Shark Tank. I guess it's one Shark Tank. Do we say one?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, one. But I'm super pumped to have
Heck
you join
yeah.
me. You got to own it. And I'm super pumped to have you join me. It's going to be super exciting because we're going to get in this thing. We're going to do a couple of lead up episodes. We're starting our conversation with Sara Wilkinson, and then we're going to have UWVC on in a couple of days. So United War Veterans Council, and they're the hosts of the New York City Veterans Day Parade. And then we're going to be on site. We're going to be near the grandstand somewhere around 5th and 25th. We're going to call this parade live. We're going to do a whole bunch of hits live on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever we can. And then we're going to cut a whole bunch of podcast episodes on the back end with all the people who are going to be involved in this thing. And it's going to be super instrumental. But before we get to any of that, we're doing Chad 1000X. And that's why I wanted to launch this whole thing with Sara Wilkinson, because I'm still sore from when I last challenged her to do it. And when I saw and Go Rock contacted me and told me that they were partnering on Chad 1000X this year on Veterans Day to launch it across the country, I said, we're in. Hands down, no questions asked. So let's do it. So thanks both for joining me. Let's talk about it all. And first, welcome Sara Apgar. What is our theme? Because we got to talk about this thing, because we've been laying this out and we said we're going to put a theme behind it. And I'm going to let you introduce that.
Drum roll, Fran. Let's do this. So we are psyched to introduce our 2022 Veterans Day theme, which is Here We Are. Period. And we came up with this theme after thinking about the state of the world, after thinking about what we've been through the past couple years, thinking about our veteran community. And this is a nod to a world-renowned artist named Oliver Jeffers, who has this beautiful children's book, which I hesitate to call a children's book. It's really just a human book. And he writes about here we are living on planet Earth, and the themes that I love that felt really relevant to right now for us and our veteran community, but more broadly, just humanity in general, is that what's important is small moments of goodness and human intimacy. As we've come out of these challenging times, we've got the world sort of roiling around us, post-pandemic, economic concerns, what's going on, foreign policy and sort of domestically international. And there's sort of an ocean boiling around us. And overall, what we want to focus on right now, here and now, is number one, our presence, and number two, our health, because we're nothing without those two things. And so when we think about extending that into the veteran community, we are also in an incredible time of transition for our veteran community and for our U.S. military across all the branches. We have transitions in recruiting. We are engaging in health and wellness initiatives to increase the number of deployable soldiers and teenagers fit for public service. And so this really means for us, here we are, show up, first of all, and stick together, second of all. Appreciate the opportunity we have in these moments that we have that feel sometimes like they're filled with strife. We've set extraordinary expectations for our service members when they serve and after. We call them heroes. We entrust them with the most important personal responsibility of any human being, to serve and protect others. And so right now, here we are taking a minute to reset our expectations, not lower our expectations, but shift them to focus on the right things for right now and what we really need to seize opportunity, rather than drown in rifts or challenges or concerns. So here we are, Fran. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you. I'm very, very honored to co-host the Veterans Day Parade with you.
Now, I think about here we are, and immediately when you presented it as as an option here, I jumped on it without hesitation, because I also thought about Sara Wilkinson here, because she's embodied this mantra of live big. And and Sarah, I know you and I talked about it in episode 55 when you were on. And when we talk about seizing the moment, really thinking about who we are, who do we want to be, what's in front of us, living for the now. You've started doing that, and we were joking before we started that you just finished your drive across the country. We were talking yesterday, had a couple of hours to go. You did some Instagram lives from various places that, oh, by the way, I don't care what you say, they're gaining traction, and there's more and more people on every single one of them. And now I'm going to start watching the next one. But talk for a second about live big. Talk about here we are and why that's so important in the world right now with all of these crazy things going on.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, we live in a world that praises similarities and commonalities. There's nothing wrong with that. But we also live in a world that really isolates one another. And I think that when it comes down to it, people need people. That's what's needed. At the end of our days, it's not going to matter, the things you had or really the job you had. It's going to matter the experiences, what you wanted to experience in your life, and who you wanted to experience them with. So I kind of took to this concept of live big. Obviously, I lost my husband too soon. And it just makes you realize that life is really short. And so the two rules I would say to live big is just invest in yourself and invest in others. And really lean into that. So lean into who you are, what you want to experience in this life, and it's going to look different for every single person, which is the beauty in that. We get to kind of pick our own path or choose your own adventure, but also investing in others and really look to the people in your life that matter and make a difference, and make sure you tell them that. Because when it's all said and done, that's all you're taking with you is your experience in life and who mattered to you.
And buy a van.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that was part of my live big. Yeah. Maybe not everybody wants to live in a van, but I did. And I bought a van, and I just got home yesterday after 64 days on the road. So kind of circumnavigated the U.S., went up through the north and then down California and southbound across. So it was great.
Well, you mentioned your husband Chad Wilkinson, and Chad. I want to talk about Chad 1000X because we're going to honor him and his legacy as we've done, as you and I did when I challenged you to do it back when we had our episode 55, and I had this crazy moment towards the end where all of a sudden I hadn't planned it, and I was like, hey, when we go to Sandlot Jackson, the Go-Ruck games, will you do it with me? And you without hesitation were like, absolutely. And then I posted about this the other day because I did zero training for Chad 1000X, and then we met to do it like the second morning of Sandlot Jacks, and it was good. I felt like you smoked me, like absolutely crushed me, and you had weight, and I have to admit, because I had no weight, even though I was wearing a backpack, I had no weight. You carried, I think, like 30 pounds. And I think you finished before me. And then on the back end, it was like, later that day when I could not get in and out of the vehicle to conduct any recordings. So this year I've committed to actually training for this thing. But talk about Chad 1000X and the fundraiser this year for Veterans Day and what we're doing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Chad 1000X is a workout named after my husband. It's what he actually did to climb mountains. So he was a hobby alpinist. He climbed the second highest summit, Aconcagua, in January of 2018. And to train for that, one of the things he did was 1,000 box step ups with a 45-pound pack. And he built up to this in hundreds to where he was knocking out 1,000 at a time. Following his death, we kind of taken that workout to be our Veterans Day staple workout. You can scale it. You don't have to do a 20-inch box. You don't have to do 45 pounds for men or 35 for women. And it takes a little over an hour. Now, the workout isn't super technical. Anybody can step up and step down. It's really just about the heart and the effort and really thinking about where your mind goes during that 1,000. I think you and I joked that the first 200 to 300 step ups, you cut up with your friends and your neighbors and you make fun of each other. And after that, you just kind of stop talking. You're more or less, in the pain cave. I think the workout is like this poetic representation of the mental struggle that our veterans have. And so while the workout is named after Chad, he's just one of thousands of military who have died by suicide. And we want it to be a bigger testimony to our veterans that are serving currently or have served, that we stand with them, right? That we are here. And so we do the workout close to Veterans Day. The 29th is actually Chad's death anniversary, which typically we see hero workouts done on those dates. But we've pushed it closer to Veterans Day to advocate for those that are still with us and possibly struggling. Funds raised do go to a nonprofit I started called the Step Up Foundation, and we choose different organizations to support. One of those organizations we support this year is an app called Sound Off that was started by a fellow family who also lost a Navy SEAL family member to suicide. And it encrypts our veterans' data so they can't be necessarily tracked or kind of called out if they're currently still serving, because that's a big struggle that many of them have is calling attention to their struggle while they're still active duty. And it matches them up with a clinician and or a battle buddy for talk therapy within their state.
Wow. Hey, Fran, can I jump in here and just note how beautiful it was that one of the highlights that Sarah just offered was "We are here." You just said that within the course of your discussion about Chad, and I was just thinking. I mean, you just switched or swapped around the words of our theme into another beautiful and powerful collection of 3 words that mean something that's so synonymous and complementary, but also different as well. So here we are, and we are here, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my mind's like exploding. With all the ways in which we can really celebrate this and how much Chad epitomizes and the effort you just described really epitomizes what we're doing here this year.
I think it's a perfect partnership.
So I mentioned that BJ Nadel, who is the founder or co-founder with Jason McCarthy. So Jason McCarthy started Go Rock and a very strong partner of the Jedburgh Podcast. They founded the Sandlot app, and we talked all about the Sandlot app when we had Jason on. We talked about it at the Go Rock Games and Sandlot Jackson when we were there in April. But there's over 200 Chad 1000X events laid on for this year all across the country. We got to get ours up on there, Sarah, because we haven't put that up there. And so that's on me. Don't let me forget to do that.
Yeah. We do have started this partnership this year with smaller gyms or other locations that want to host one and show their support. We're also in what we call live events, which are bigger cities. Those will be in Jacksonville, Florida, with the Go Rock headquarters, Virginia Beach, and San Diego. Another unique concept brought to Chad 1000X that will go down in Jacksonville and San Diego is what we call a Vets Town Hall. So we partnered with Sebastian Younger, and we provide an opportunity for veterans to come up and share 5 to 10 minutes of what their service has meant to them. And it can really span the gamut as far as what they share. but it also provides an opportunity for civilians who might not have ever been touched by someone of the military to have a better understanding of what they go through.
Well, you opened the door to my next conversation point, which was the meaning of Veterans Day. And you talked about moving Chad 1000X closer to Veterans Day because we want to highlight those who are still with us while we honor those that we've lost. Sarah Apgar, I mentioned that you're an Army veteran. We both served at Fort Carson at the same time, although didn't know each other, which was a good point of conversation we had before. But talk about Veterans Day for a second and the importance that it has. I mean, we're talking about, and the parade specifically in New York, and we'll talk a lot about the parade when we get out there, but started in 1919, right after the armistice that after World War I, and it has continued every year since. And this is, it takes over central Manhattan. And we're talking about, shutting down Fifth Avenue on a Friday this year and for the majority of the day. But why is Veterans Day so important?
I'll dive in and kick us off, Fran. This year in particular, I am feeling this incredible groundswell of energy around what's become, I think, in our mainstream, a bit of a, just an annual gamut of holidays where we get to all kind of like take off work and, go shopping and eat popcorn and probably watch something cool on TV. And this year, I'm feeling a really different kind of energy around occasions like Veterans Day. This is, of course, not a holiday, it's an occasion. And so I think we should choose those words carefully. And so what I'm looking forward to is the fact that people, I think, are paying attention to the important themes and the important initiatives that we have to be coming together to collaborate on, mental health, of course, being one of them, not only for veterans, but for, teenagers and school-aged young people, across the board, as we've looked towards what's really important over the last few years. The Veterans Day does a really good job, I think, of focusing people in on these things that are important. And so also, family, support community services that are supporting veterans in their local communities. That the decentralization is sometimes very difficult. So we love to have organizations like the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, True North, which Greg Parsons, who runs. So these larger organizations are very important, but at the very baseline, at the community level, we have just an incredible opportunity to be supporting veterans and their families and to be celebrating and building positivity around issues that otherwise are pretty taboo, tricky to talk about. But, let's go ahead and, rip our hearts open on some of these topics. And I think this year, these occasions have felt really different to me than past. So 2022, that's really what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think one of the absolute best, and I've said this before to a number of people, and I'll say it here, in public because I told Sarah this before, but her episode was the hardest episode that I've done, and I'm over 100 episodes now, and at 55 it was the hardest one, and they've all been easier since. But there is no one better, I honestly believe, than Sara Wilkinson in opening this conversation and getting everybody to understand that not only is it critically important, but we have to have it. We can't shy from it. And so I, continue to appreciate everything, Sarah, that you're doing for this community and how you've stayed involved and how you've really led absolutely everybody in this fight against mental health and to support Chad 1000X this year and every year and continue the partnership with you is truly an honor. And so I thank you for letting us host this event and bringing everybody in.
Thank you, Fran. Your support means a lot. Sarah, it's great to meet you as well. I think this year is going to be fantastic, and it's only going to grow. So let's be the change.
So we got a big day, 11/11, New York City, Virginia Beach, San Diego, Jacksonville, 200 other locations across the country. So get onto the Sandlot app. Okay, download it on your phone, whatever you have, iOS, Google, it doesn't matter. They're on all of it. Figure out where it is. If there's not one in the local area, then start your own. Go to chad1000x.com. You can sign up there. Okay, everything's going to the Step Up Foundation, as Sarah mentioned. Sarah Apgar, we have a huge series of events. It starts on the 10th with the Marine Corps birthday ball, okay, which, as you know, those jarheads will be slamming a whole lot of drinks and getting out of control, and we're going to have to go there and represent the Army, and the FitFighter Jedburgh Podcast activation. So that's going to be a great time that night. And then we have Chad 1000X 11:11 in the morning at Madison Square Park. We're eyeing the 6 a.m. time frame. So anybody who wants to come join us, they need to DM us. We're going to be putting some more information out over the course of the next week as to what are the details around that are going to be. Jersey Mike's, the title sponsor of the Jedburgh Podcast, is sponsoring the hospitality tent at the parade. So very thankful for Jersey Mike's to be jumping in with us, as they always do. We have 18 Alpha Fitness is coming out with us, and 18 Alpha Fitness they're one of our sponsors too, and they are preparing the next generation of special operations warriors for selection through their app. Analytics Solutions, my day job. All right, they're letting me off to go do this, so I have to give a shout out to them. They're there for all your back office needs. Retro Fitness is coming out as well. Retro Fitness and I launched a special operations focused team building seminar. So they're coming out to support us and Chad 1000X and us at the parade. So that's going to be exciting. And Roan's joining us. So Roan is really taking the lead over the last couple of years in men's mental health and against veteran suicide. Their flagship store is down on 5th Avenue and 20th. And so they're going to be with us as well for all of our events. So really exciting day. So much to do, so much preparation to do. I have this WC-51, the 1944 Dodge, leaking oil all over my garage floor. My wife is pissed about it. So I've got to figure out all of those issues with that thing, figure out how I'm going to drive it into Manhattan on 11/11, and we're going to set up this podcast studio in the back of it. But before we do that, I'm going to get smoked by you guys in Chad 1000X, and it probably, once I'm in the back of that thing, won't be getting out till the end of the parade. So thanks so much. I appreciate you both joining me. I'm really looking forward to Veterans Day, looking forward to all the Chad 1000X events, and we'll see you there. American Jedburghs went out to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Director to the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh Podcast. I'm your creator and host, Fran and Racioppi. Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other behind-the-scenes content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow me, Fran Racioppi, Talent War Group, and our sponsor Jersey Mike Subs on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Send your comments and inquiries to media@talentwargroup.com. As former members of Special Operations Forces, the Jedburgh Podcast and Talent War Group contribute a percentage of all profits to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, supporting the families of our fallen warriors. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.